Alright, welcome to video 2, Who You're Up Against by Urban Forex. Alright, so in this video, I wanted to go deeper into talking about who you're up against. The reason why you have to know this is because if you have a better understanding of what is happening into the markets, why you need to get involved, where you need to get involved, the better trader you're going to be. You need to know all the elements that lead up to a trade and all the elements that get you out of a trade to become a pro trader. You can't just study a strategy and hope to be the best. Okay, it doesn't work like that. To be the best that you can be, you need to learn all the elements of how things are moving, why they are moving, and where you fit into that big story. Okay? So now that you know that your role is inside a movement that is already in motion, right? So the big boy is going from one direction to the next, and you are saying somewhere along the way, I want to catch the train as well. Okay? Because the big boy is headed a certain direction, and I know he's headed that direction for some time. I want to to get into that ride. Now, if you are feeling bad for any reason from the previous video, I want to give you an example of this. Just as a simple example, let's say you want to buy a house, right? A very simple example. You obviously want to buy a house during a upcoming rising economy, okay? So just because you buy a house in a rising economy does not mean you're a bad person. It's just you're doing whatever you need to do to do your best and get all the tools and research right to make sure you're not on the wrong side. Okay, that's what you're doing. You're surviving. Okay, that's what you're doing. Okay, so in this particular case, the larger players don't think it's one person, it's the entire economy is headed a certain direction, and you're just saying, okay, since I know that it's headed a certain direction, I want to catch a ride into that and start investing into that currency. Okay, and that's how you're going to make your money. All right, so having that said, who you're up against. So just like I ended the last video talking about along the way on the uptrend, as the things start to pull back, you're looking to catch a ride onto that uptrend, right? So your job is, I know prices are coming back, but my main job and focus is to get onto that buy, right? However, if we go a time frame lower, this whole piece that temporarily pulled back could look very aggressively to the sell side. Now, take a moment and think about this. Okay, I'm going to draw an uptrend like that. Okay, that switched around to go to the sell side. Now, I want you to think whoever is in the buy who bought here. Okay, there's a lot of people, right? Whoever bought there, what happens once prices reaches up here? They're happy. They're making money. They're making money. They're happy. But what happens when prices come back down here? They're like, oh no, man, I was making $1,000 or whatever amount that was, and now it's at break even. Okay, if it goes up to $1,000, I'll close it. Okay, I'll close it. As it comes lower and prices reach here, oh man, okay. All right, now I'm a minus $1,000. If it goes back to minus, let's say 700 or 500, I'll close it. Okay? Comes down to here, minus $1,500. Oh no. Okay, if it goes back to 700 or 800 or $1,000, I'll actually close it. Prices go up a little bit, reaches here around $1,000. They're like, you know what? It went from 1,500 to $1,000. I think it's gonna go up now. So the person still doesn't close. Okay? As it gets lower, eventually the stop loss gets hit because the stop loss is below a recent low, blah, 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 blah. The stop loss gets hit. So I want you to understand not that one person's psychology, not that one person's poor management. I want to tell you that is the entire market psychology. That means when this downtrend began, which happened up here, the only time people start taking action is a little bit further down into the trend. Okay? The reason why a market takes time during pullbacks is because there's not enough sellers yet. So let's say the big boy is buying. Okay? For him to buy more, he needs sellers to come in. But all leading up to this point, there has been no sellers yet. In fact, the buyer himself is still holding the trade. But as it gets weaker and weaker or more dramatic, very aggressively, what happens is stop losses trigger. That's one thing. So the buyers become, the buy order gets a sell order. A stop loss gets triggered. Okay. The next thing that happens, it attracts sellers. Okay. That same trader will also probably sell, and also people who've been on the sidelines thinking, no, 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 this must be a sell. It's gone up too high. That mentality also begins the selling around here. So up in this point, not much is happening, but the lower it goes, more and more sellers get into here. As more and more sellers pile on to the sell side, what do you think the big boys, including you and me, are starting to think as prices get down to here? We're like, get ready. We are getting ready to buy. Okay? Because we've done the research, we've done our homework, we've done all that hard work that this person was too lazy or maybe lazy is not the right word. Just misinformed also. That's the case for a lot of people. You know, there's a lot actually maybe lazy is not the right word. There's a lot of people who are actually very hardworking, but they just don't have the right knowledge. Okay? I can give you that. I can give you that because I've seen people like that. So prices are going lower and lower, and then the selling begins. And as the selling begins, like I said, the big boy, you and me, and several other Urban Forex students, we're getting ready to do the buy. Okay? So who are we up against? We're up against these misinformed traders. Okay? So far so good? Okay. As long as you understand who you're up against, so to put it into a language, let me show you something here, okay, in terms of a chart here. So we have a 60-minute on my left-hand side, okay, 60-minute on my left-hand side, and we have a 15 minutes on my right-hand side, okay? So there is a higher time frame, and then there's one time frame lower, which is a multiple of 4 lower, right? There's 4 15-minute candles inside of 60 minutes. So it's a little tiny time frame, a little bit lower, like 4 multiples lower. Okay, so let's take a look at this. Okay, let me go look into this area here as we go further back. Oh, sorry. Let me take the mouse. Let's go further back into here, and let's look into these areas right here. Okay, so let me see if I can find that spot right here. Okay, there we go. Right. Now notice how in this uptrend that was happening, okay, in this uptrend that was happening, notice how this pullback comes in. Here on the 60-minute, it looks very shallow, as if nothing is happening. In fact, even when you see this movement come down, pull back, come down, chop, 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 come down, go up, it's not threatening at all, right? Because all you can see is sharp move down, sharp move up, and then messy, 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 messy. On here, on the 15, on the other hand, you see a sharp move up, followed by hold, hold, sharp move down. This will cause a panic. Okay, anyone on the 15-minute or the 5 minutes or the 3 minutes or on the 1 minute is going to turn seller. Because he or she is unfortunately misinformed in terms of why should this trade sell. Okay? Why should this trade sell? Now, so that's who we're up against. It is our research against their trial and error. Okay, sometimes they're going to be right. They might be in the same direction as us, but it's our research against their trial and error. Okay? Now, there is a flip side though. Okay, that's your opponent, which seems pretty fair enough. You're like, okay, well, you got the knowledge, you're practicing, you're gonna be good at this, right? It's like going into a ring and you've trained for 1 year and you're ready to do boxing, and but your opponent hasn't done any training and he's like, you know what, I can take on this big guy. But you get into the ring and you crush the guy because you've been training, you've been working hard, you're ready for this. Okay? So now here's what happened. Once you win, you get into the big boys arena where they've been practicing and studying harder. Okay, so now here comes two opponents, okay? You're up against two opponents. One is lower time frame. Okay, on the lower time frame, such as this example, 60 minutes is your higher time frame, and then on your lower time frame, 15 minutes, those are who you're up against. So anyone on a lower time frame is your challenger. Okay, that's where the money is coming from. Okay, the flip side happens is one guy who's above you on the higher time frame. Okay, so let's say, okay, I know it's sounding a little bit confusing. Let me explain. Let me explain. It'll make more sense. So let's say you're looking at this chart on the US dollar Swiss franc 60 minutes, and you're looking at this and you're saying, okay, well, I know that the markets, New York closed here. I can see the dotted line. And then London opened here. And this is my highest point of Asia. This is my lowest point of Asia until London opened. And then once London opened and New York took over, they took out Asia. So the power is into the buy side and you're willing to buy. Correct? Now, flip side is you can be right because on the smaller time frame people might switch sellers and you're hitting the buys and you'll be just fine. But the flip side is also true is when you keep buying a little bit too much. Okay? When you keep buying a little bit too much, let me get you to that spot here. Here we go. There we are. Okay? You might be in an overall downtrend, for example, for the 4-hour guys, and you might be stepping into their territory for them to be like, oh, welcome buyers. Thank you very much. I will now take all those buy orders and hit the sell really hard. Okay? So, having that said, in terms of technical analysis, you are always hunting and someone is always hunting you. Okay? That is pure technical analysis. So the only way to be one step higher is to do that extra research and find out what the big boy is actually thinking in terms of your fundamentals, in terms of power, in terms of where the market should be headed. This will increase your odds of I hunt, but I'm very less hunted. Does that make sense? Okay, and I'm sorry if I'm using the terminology of hunt and hunted to all my vegan students out there. So just use any terminology you want to use that helps you understand it better. That's fine. I'm just trying to explain that this is where you stand in the market in terms of technical analysis. So you want to be a little bit smarter to say, okay, here's how we're gonna trade it. So now, going into the next video, I'm gonna walk you through on what you need to be doing. Okay, so let's proceed to the next video.